So P is from Virginia. The shoe has Virginia on the tongue. And the one place it isn't dropping is Virginia. Now that's crazy work. Hey, welcome to the First Word Podcast. I am your host, EdotREEP. Episode 10 is definitely personal. It hits close to home. Well, it hits home. Like, it's not close. It hits home. It's crazy. This was not supposed to be episode 10. I had a different episode mapped out. But, this is a current event that directly affects the crib, and it's footwear related. So, of course, the community spoke out, said this should be a topic. And I said, why not make it the next topic since it is a current event? So, Skateboard P, Pharrell, from the crib, he collabed with Adidas, of course, human race line. And his latest silhouette, the Adidas Jellyfish, has been making noise across the globe, honestly. I want to say they did like a special release during Fashion Week. I want to say something like that. They had a crazy rollout with the packaging and everything. And personally, I like the shoe from the jump. Is chunky dad shoe, kind of like futuristic design. But the part that really made it special for me was that it has Virginia on the tongue, and there aren't many shoes out there that represent Virginia or even have Virginia on them. I want to say there might be a pair of like 92 All-Stars or something. Shout out to Dion, he put me on those. I wasn't hip. And the only other pair, KD 18, I want to say there's a pair with VA on it. And then you got the Sean Weatherspoon Nikes with LA to VA on the back. Outside of that, I can't think of any other shoe that, nods to VA. But this particular shoe actually has Virginia spelled out on the tongue. So, I was definitely excited for the release. And, to my surprise and the surprise of a lot of my counterparts, my peers, my community members, locals, Virginia was not on the release list. You had the online raffles, of course, which those are hit or miss. So we had a whole episode about that, It's the safer option, but with all the bots and, unlimited entries, and you have people entering across the globe, your chances are slim for sure. So I was hoping at least a local store would have them. The closest store to me that actually had the raffle was Washington, D.C. So we have a Virginia born and raised artist dropping a shoe with Virginia written on the tongue. And the closest store to actually release this item is in Washington, D.C. Not Northern Virginia, but Washington, D.C. Hey, shout out to our mama here, though. I'm a fan of the brand. It's not your fault, but it's just crazy that a Virginia shoe, D.C., like that's the best y'all got. Because even the DMV foams, they were exclusively, released across the DMV. D.C., Maryland, Virginia, of course. The parts of D.C., Maryland, Virginia that you can get to on the metro. Not every square foot of the states, but, it was special to the DMV area. So I would assume it'll be the same with this, but of course, I was wrong. And it's just so crazy to me, man. It's like, how did Adidas 3 Stripes, how did y'all drop the ball, man? Because Pharrell just finished up a special project, down to Oceanfront, the Dome. They could have utilized that as, a potential pop-up location or something. I know there's some tension still with, Pharrell in the city of Virginia Beach. That's another story. I'm not here to talk on that. But I feel like there could have been something done for this release. Now I understand that this particular shoe had is a special tier. When it comes to certain releases, you get like the tier 1, tier 0 type, releases, and only special stores with those accounts are able to, drop them. So the one store, we had two options. You got Cream, and then you also have Commonwealth. Either one of those would have been, a good spot to drop them. Cream lost its Adidas account a while ago, so they were out of the question. And then Commonwealth, I guess they just weren't, on that tier level. But I feel like there could have been a pop-up, like a special pop-up, in the city somewhere, on the oceanfront. It could have been like a very special activation, a special rollout. Just because it's not his first shoe, but it's like the first shoe that really like says, this is where I'm from. I'm from Virginia, like, and everybody is going to know. Like, there are people walking around with that shoe right now that I'm sure never stepped foot in Virginia. It's so crazy. Like, not saying like I'm not mad that they released worldwide. Like, let's not, I don't want to get that, misconstrued. I am glad that it was a global release. People from all over have the chance to represent Virginia, and that is dope to me. Like, in totality, that's dope. But I just feel like we should have had a better chance of copping. Even with some boutiques and stores, when they do like online raffles, they ask you, or they say like locals first, so like locals get priority. Like, you have a better shot of winning the raffle if you're a local. Not saying that, the Pharrell website, this Virginia website, didn't take that into consideration, because you did have to put your number and zip code in there, I think. Something like that. Maybe they did have some kind of filter system, and, unfortunately, I wasn't selected either time the raffle popped up. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But I feel like there could have been something special for the 7.5. Virginia for sure, but the 7.5, like, come on. That's the crib, P. You could have did something special for us. It's just like, in my opinion, they could have did like a week-long release, like a week-long rollout. 7 days in a week, 7 cities make up the 757 Hampton Roads area. You could have had a pop-up in each city, and for the end of it, it could have culminated Sunday down at the oceanfront boardwalk. Could have had a crazy like block party. They have the infrastructure to do it. Of course, if y'all familiar with Something in the Water Festival down in the oceanfront, the last time that it was actually, they were actually able to, get everything rolling, there was a Human Race Adidas activation where he dropped the Sambas early. Like, it was like a rainbow pack, I want to say, something like that. That's not a boutique or a store with the, a Adidas account. It was just a standalone pop-up activation joint, and with a point of sale, and it worked. So it's not like the infrastructure, it wasn't there for like a pop-up style release. I guess it just wasn't priority, which is, it's tough. It did hurt me. Like Pharrell doesn't owe me anything. Like, I know that. I was just hoping that, a release like this, of this magnitude, I thought, maybe there would have been something special. Not saying he might have something up his sleeve that could be like a wider release. It may be a special colorway that'll only drop in Virginia or only available to those Virginia residents. Who knows? It could be something, could be nothing. But this, from the initial release and how it went down, these are my thoughts and opinions and feelings on it. Like I said, it would have been dope for, a local rollout that we didn't have a better chance to secure it. But I am excited to see what the future colorways look like. Maybe it becomes, an additional line under the Three Stripe brand, and, Pharrell can continue to promote VA, rep VA, and the whole world can rep VA by wearing his shoes. It's just like that. And I was about to do it, but it's like, for one, you got to travel to DC in that certain time slot. Well, in hopes that you can, be able to make it for the ride. The traffic is crazy, and you don't know how many people are in line. By the time you even get there, if it's even worth it. And then it's still a raffle at the end of the day. So you do all that, you go out of town for whatever, fill out the raffle, come back to the crib, and then you have to hope that you get selected. And then if you do get selected, you have to go back, travel back up there in the time, in that time slot to get the shoe. It's a lot, man. Like, if it was like a guaranteed joint, maybe, but to fill out a raffle out of like 3.5, 4 hours, depending on traffic, it's too much. As I wanted the shoe, I entered the raffles, of course, and took L's on everything. Multiple L's on the Pharrell site. Adidas confirmed, Kith, what was the other one? Packer. But it is what it is, man. I did my best. It's just crazy that we don't have more. We need more boutiques locally. Like, Cream is cool. I got love for Cream. They definitely get stuff that most don't in the area. So I definitely appreciate that. Commonwealth is dope. I feel like Commonwealth should get more. I remember they used to. I know they used to get the Yeezy releases, and that was when they were in Lynn Haven Mall. Now they have a standalone, down there in Town Center. And I don't feel like they really get releases like they used to, which is crazy unless they lost their account as well. I'm not sure, but it should have been something better than what it was. Like, I'm not in those meetings. I'm not on the board. I'm not in the boardroom. I don't call the shots over there. Maybe P did, voice his, opinion on having a local release, and the company just wasn't rocking with it. Maybe, like I said, he has something planned in the future to make up for this, or something dope that he's just keeping on the wraps, which I'm not mad at that at all. But like I said, these are my initial thoughts and opinions and feelings on the whole situation. So yeah, this is more like a little rant. I got called out to, drop something about it. And I'm definitely anxious to see how y'all feel about it, I can't be the only one feeling some type of way about it, especially locally. And I know a lot of my peers, or like my friends, family, whatever, like we all in this together. That moved out of town, they were trying to get it too. Like my dog Dion, like he said, he in Texas right now. I want to put his location on there, but he's in Texas, so he was like, he would have popped up, if there was like to be a local release. He was gonna come in time for the release. Like, it would have been like kind of like a homecoming reunion type joint, because a lot of people move out of VA and go elsewhere, but that really would have brought the community together. Then you had the Cousins Festival coming up this weekend. That could have been another opportunity to have like some type of pop up or whatever during the festival, like, which would have been dope. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm gonna give it some time, see what happens. See what happens down the line with new colorways, maybe something special. Like I said, who knows? I don't know. I took the L. Am I mad? For sure. Am I like hurt? Like, no, it's another release. I took the L, keep it moving, get something else. I'm not paying resale for these joints. As much as I rep VA to the fullest 757 forever, the prices on these are crazy. So now y'all exploiting the crib now. People walking around with $700 Virginia shoes on. It's dope and crazy at the same time. But yeah, please tap in. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on the situation. Is it an overreaction on my part and my counterparts that felt like we really got snubbed? There should have been a local release? Or y'all feel like, it is what it is. You either get them or you don't. Pay to play, which a lot of people will do. I'm not one of them. But yeah, man, appreciate y'all for checking this episode out. It's probably a short one for sure. Like, I didn't want to do nothing too crazy. I just wanted, thoughts and feelings, pure emotion on this one. I didn't want it too structured because it's basically a rant episode. But, the next episode 11, will be, back to the regularly scheduled program. But I definitely had to drop this, man, for the people, for the culture, for the 7-5, man. But shout out to Skateboard P, man. Shout out to Pharrell. Shout out to the Three Stripes. You're definitely representing us overall. It's a pretty good representation of the crib. I just wish this release was a little bit more, catered more to the crib than it did. But, it's still all love. You already know how we get down, man. 2 up, 2 down, forever. Appreciate y'all for watching as always. Buy what you like, wear what you love. This is the First Word Podcast.